Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be discussing with you the processes involved in obtaining a Canadian PR as a Nigerian or as an African. It's no more news that Canada is in need of skilled migrants, skilled workers, and for this reason I've put together these amazing 7 steps which you need to follow in order to be able to migrate to Canada. So the first thing that you will need to do is to take an eligibility test. The link to take the eligibility test is on my website. If you go to my website www.obodoyibo.com, over there you will be able to take an eligibility test which will determine if you are eligible to migrate to Canada. Please, it is very important for you to note that this eligibility test is the first step. Don't let anybody tell you that they can get you a visa without doing this eligibility test. If you do this eligibility test, it asks about personal information about you, which is like your work experience, your qualifications, things to do with your scores in English, if you have a spouse, if you are relocating with your spouse. These and other informations are what you need to fill in into the eligibility test. So if you're ready and if you're interested in migrating to Canada, go to my website and take the eligibility test. The next thing you will need to do is to check if your occupation is on the NOC list. The NOC list is the National Occupational Classification. On this list is all the occupations that Canada is looking for. So you will need to go to my website and click on the link of the NOC list and check if your occupation is on the list. The third thing that you need to do is to prove your language proficiency. In order to prove your language proficiency, there are 2 ways you could prove it. If you speak French or if you speak English, because Canada is a dual language country. So if you speak either of the 2 languages, you can prove it in one of the 2 languages. And if you speak both languages, then that will be a big advantage for you because you can actually prove it in English and also go ahead and prove it in French. This will give you more points, whichever, if you're able to do both of it. So if you're proving it in English, which I know that most Nigerians will be doing, and if you're doing English, then you have to do the IELTS General English, the IELTS General English. For the IELTS General English is 75,000 naira to book it in Nigeria. I'm not sure how much it's going to be in your country. You will need to check that. So if you go to my website, I've put a link to book the IELTS General English on my website. For this IELTS General English, you will be tested in 4 different areas. What are the areas? You will be tested in reading, in writing, in speaking, and in listening. The higher you score in any, the higher your mark in any of these band, the better for you. I mean, if you score 8, you are better off than someone that scores 7. If you score 7, you are better off than someone that scores 6. So I advise that you put so much effort into writing this English exam. I've put the preparation material on my website obodoyibo.com. If you get there, there are materials that you will need to prepare with. And my recommendation would be that you should prepare for this exam for the period of 2 months at least. If you prepare for this exam for the period of 2 months and you follow the step-by-step guides on my website, I'm very sure that success will be yours in the exam. The step 4 will be for you to do your certificate evaluation. The certificate evaluation can be done by so many bodies, but the only body I'll be talking about today is the WES, which is the most popular one. The meaning of WES is World Educational Services. The World Educational Services, WES. So you can do evaluation of your certificate with WES. What does that mean? Evaluation of your certificate is the process whereby you will need to send your transcript, you will need to send your certificate to this body called WES, and this body will determine what your certificate is equivalent to in Canada. For example, the fact that you have a bachelor's degree in Nigeria doesn't mean that your bachelor's degree is going to be equal to the bachelor's degree in Canada. So this body has the authority and the power to tell you if your bachelor's degree is equal to bachelor's in Canada. So what do you need to do this WES evaluation? Everything that you need to submit to do this WES evaluation is on my website. Please note that the document requirement is different across countries. Like in Nigeria, because of a lot of fake credentials flying around, they just added WAEC and NECO certificate to the list of the requirements that they want. So if you're a Nigerian, if you want to know the list of requirements, of the document requirements that you need, just navigate to my website. I've listed everything that you will need in order to pass this WES evaluation. If you're not a Nigerian, go to my website. You'll be able to determine what document is needed for your country. So once you have put all the documents together, you will have to DHL it, or maybe you want to FedEx it or UPS it to Canada, to this body. It usually takes 8 weeks to complete this certificate or credentials evaluation. Make sure that you evaluate all your credentials. I advise that you evaluate all your credentials. If you have a master's degree, if you have a bachelor's, if you are having problem obtaining transcripts from your schools, which is common in Nigeria, I would advise you that you make sure that you evaluate your highest degree. So if, for example, you have a master's degree and you have a bachelor's degree, I will advise that you evaluate your master's degree, because once you evaluate your master's degree, if it's equivalent to Canadian master's degree, is all that you need. Now to the step 5. Now that you have passed your English and you are successful in evaluating your certificate with WES, the next thing that you need to do is to fill the express entry profile. The express entry profile is like the portal whereby you express your interest to the Canadian government that you want to migrate to Canada. So this, once you fill all your details to this website, details like your occupation, like your age, like your certificate, like your years of experience, and relevant details like that, then the website will automatically decide on what point you have achieved. So once the website decide on the point that you have achieved, this point is what is needed in order to nominate you. For example, if you score 475 on the website and I score 450 on the website, there is high probability that you will first get an invite before I get an invite, because you are higher than me on the pool. So it is important for us to make sure that we fill all the information correctly and make sure there is no mistake, because at this point you will not be able, once you fill these details in and you get an invite, you will not be able to change anything that you have filled in that website. So it's very, very important for you. Make sure you don't overrate yourself. Make sure you don't supply fake information. Make sure that every information that you supply is correct at this point. So once you fill this form, which is called the expression of interest, once you do the express entry profile, then you will need to wait for your invitation. So I know a lot of people will want to ask me, how long do I have to wait for this invitation? There is no limit to when you have to wait for the invitation. It could be the next 1 minute, it could be for the next 1 hour. For example, Canada usually send invites out to people. They usually do the draw. They call it the draw. They usually do it every 2 weeks. So basically they do it like twice a month. So for example, if they are doing it on a Wednesday and you fill your form on a Wednesday, about 5 minutes to when they will do it, if you have a good point and you are high on the ranking, you may get an invite immediately. Whereas someone that filled it like a day after they just finish one draw, we have to wait for some time. So it all depends on the point you score and when you fill the express entry profile. After you have filled your express entry profile, the next thing for you to do will be to wait patiently for your ITA. ITA is invitation to apply. So like I said in the other step, that once you finish filling that form and whatever you score on that form will determine when you will get an invite. So the invite is what you need to wait for. So once you get the ITA is I would say the ITA is the key that opens the door to your PR. Is the most important document that you need to apply for permanent residency to Canada. So once you're done with the step we discussed earlier, which is filling your express entry, just wait patiently for your ITA. ITA is usually in form of an email that will come to your inbox saying that you have been you have been nominated and you can now apply for your permanent residency to Canada. So make sure you keep an eye on your email very well, and once you get an ITA, you will have 60 days to apply for your visa. So once you get an ITA, once again, you will have 60 days to apply for your visa. Make sure you don't delete any email. Make sure you pay attention to any emails that comes into your inbox. Once you get your invitation to apply ITA, as I've stated in step 6, the next thing to do will be to apply for your permanent residency to Canada. So now every list of document that you will need have been posted on my website. If you navigate to my website, you will find a list of everything you will need to apply for your permanent residency to Canada. Most of us want to know the cost implications. I mean, cost is very important to whatever you're doing. So the cost implication is that if you are the permanent resident, if you are the principal applicant, I mean, the meaning of principal applicant is if you are the one applying. For example, if a family is a family of 4 and you are the one that is applying, you are the principal applicant. So if you are the principal applicant and your spouse, your husband or your wife, as an adult, each of you will have to pay 1,040 Canadian dollar. As at the time I'm recording this video, 1,040 Canadian dollar is what you need to pay for application fee for each of you. So for other dependents, I mean your children that will be migrating with you to Canada, each of them will have to pay 150 Canadian dollars. Each of your children will have to pay 150 Canadian dollars as at the time I'm recording this video. So for everything that you will need, just navigate to my website www.obodoyibo.com. I've listed every document that you will need, the processes that you need to follow, from obtaining your police clearance certificate from Halagmo to doing your medicals and gathering every other document that you will need. Everything is stated on my website www.obodoyibo.com. If you're wondering how long does the visa processing take, the visa processing usually happens within 6 months. At times it might be more than 6 months, but usually it takes about 6 months for them to process the visa. Before I go today, it is important for me to tell you again that don't be in haste. Don't rush in obtaining any visa. Don't give money to any agent to help you process your visa, because the processing, the steps involved in processing visa is usually time consuming. I mean, it takes time. You like all the process that I've stated earlier in this video. Some of them could take within 6 months to 1 year, or even more than 1 year. So if any agent is telling you that, oh, go and bring 350,000 naira, go and bring 400,000 naira, I will get you a Canadian visa, please, I advise you not to do that, because these are things that you can do by yourself. If you make sure you stick to my channel, make sure you stick to my website. I'll be coming up with new visas that exist for Nigerians to migrate abroad. I'll be telling you how to do the visa by yourself as well. If you're watching me on Facebook and on Instagram, please like, share, and follow me on the two platforms. If you're watching me on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and make sure that you turn your notification button on, so that whenever I release any new video, you will be the first to know about it. Until my next video, stay blessed.